My dear Bagginses and Buffins.
By the blood of our people, are your lands kept safe?
I see in your eyes the same fear that will take the heart of me.
So do all who live to see such times.
My all makes me hold dear. This good earth.
There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we are, of course, talking about The Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 5, Halls of Stone. And, I think this is the one... last episode I did say even haters of the first season and haters of the show in general should probably watch it because they get a glimpse of some elements that they may have deemed missing from Peter Jackson. I think this one really starts to pick up the overarching season by season intrigue and storylines that we're hopefully going to see. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the fact that the viewership is down at some point, but I think this episode, even more than the previous episode, really gets a lot of those storylines on track for where they're going to head to and where they're going to eventually end up. And we we start things off with the dwarves here, and
well, you don't forget the Jackson-esque mountain drone style shot of the mountains.
Okay, that's true. I will say, yeah, that brought me back. That was
Can't hate that.
that was as reminiscent of the original trilogy as you can possibly get here. Just a scenic landscape of New Zealand or wherever that mountain is. Yeah, so you're right. We get that, and then we go right into the mountain, and we are dealing with the dwarves who have just been given their rings.
Yeah.
Only one dwarf has a ring at the moment.
During the third.
Yeah, and we can start to see it. It's kind of already affecting him, but not in the way that. Not in the way that the ring of the one ring affects people. It seems this one just makes him more like it almost heightens all the negative attributes of the dwarven people in terms of just being stubborn, being greedy. Some might say.
Yeah. Dwarves are supposed to be like really resistant to corruption, but I guess being a little bit greedy is not corruption.
And that's why,
greedy.
yeah, and that's why I think it's almost rather than saying it's like corrupting them, it's just sort of leaning into and enhancing some of these traits where before, not that this king, like during the third, has ever been eager to change his mind despite what his son might say. Like, he hasn't really listened to his son all that much. He has from time to time, but not a ton. Here, like, his son is like, let's just think about this, and he kind of goes a little bit insane and starts hacking into a wall that they deem like a foundation wall.
Yep.
And that, to me, like, you might be convinced there's light there, but like the whole point is like it's a foundation wall, so we don't dig there anyway. Like you're supposed to be finding light in proper digging spots. So I don't know. Like, to me, that seems to be a bit of the corruption, because I would have thought a dwarven king would know better than to mess with like the foundational stones of the mountain. Or whatever
I guess it wasn't a foundation stone, evidently, though.
Yeah, like that's the other thing is
that's a support beam. Don't care. I want the open concept.
No, you're right. And then like the mountain kind of like shudders a bit, but then like he digs a little bit and he gets the light right away.
Was that a South Park thing when there was an episode where everyone wanted open concept houses and the guy was sad because he couldn't take down that wall because it was a support wall?
If it's not, it should be. I don't remember that exactly. That probably is the real estate episode, which I do love personally, but I'll have to go back and watch it because that sounds like something that would do it. But here I don't really understand. So they're just digging and they're like. Okay, I understand, like, they're looking for light shafts, but they seem to dig and instantly find the light.
Right. That's the power of the ring, though. It knows exactly where you need to tap.
Yeah, but okay, here's what I'm trying to say. I don't need a ring. I could tell you where to dig to find the light in that tunnel. You just go to the exterior of the mountain and be like, oh, you dig a wall, you dig on a wall that faces outwards. That's pretty easy to do. I thought it'd be a little bit harder to like find like these narrow shafts, you know, going from deep in the mountain all the way up to the top or something like that. But here they're just like digging outwards. Like, if you ever played Minecraft, like, it's super easy to find a little hole to, like, put light in. Anyway, I don't know. That scene, it's an okay scene. I do think that during the third does go a little bit. He starts to go a little bit, and like you said, they're supposed to be more resistant to it.
Like, completely resistant, basically.
Yeah, I would have liked a little bit longer of a period of time when he's wearing
this
the
was
ring.
this was supposed to be a screw up of Sauron's because he wanted to corrupt the doors, but they were actually he couldn't do it.
Yeah. So like exactly. So I was expecting a bit more of like maybe an uneasy feeling with the ring on, but like not like making him go completely against the teaching. Like you're right. Even though they said it was a foundation wall, it ended up not being one, and maybe he knew that with the ring on, but still, like the way he acted, everyone's like, hey, that's a foundation wall. He's like, I don't care, give me that axe. And just starts hammering in. And then
they get all the other workers like, maybe you guys should leave.
yeah, they literally clear everyone out. They're like, I don't know what my dad's doing. He's about to kill us all. Like, let's get everyone out to safety, and then we'll stay with him and figure out what's going on. And we're gonna see a bit more of this come up, but I just thought it should be a little bit more prolonged, like drawn out. Maybe towards the end of this season, we start to see the effects there.
Well, you are right, and that would be one of my bigger complaints of the show is the speed running.
Yeah.
Like, it's you know, the Barrow Downs last week. You know, save something for later. You know, that's supposed to be the Witch King, and then you know, even I mean, we're coming to it later in this, but we'll come back to it. But I'll mention it anyway. Like, they're speed running like the relationship between Narvi and Celebrimbor too. Like, it's just like he came over for a weekend and made a door. No, this is supposed to be like a rapport they develop and then they do this together.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so I think I would have preferred, sure, you can find the light shafts right away. I think that would be fine. Don't have any of the negative effects yet, and almost have the audience going, oh, like, are these even corrupted? And then maybe, if you want to make your own story, start corrupting it towards the end of this season where, oh, some of those light shafts were foundation walls despite what the rings, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it took some time for the weight of the mountain to finally collapse some of those shafts down. And like, oh, now we're starting to see like the problem with trusting the dwarven rings is that while they do give you those powers, it's kind of a cursed power where you can't always trust it. This, to me, it just comes like out of nowhere, and all of a sudden during the third, who is supposed to be like the most knowledgeable, wisest dwarf, he's the king after all, he starts to not listen to any of their customs and rules and mining etiquette. And I just think it's a little like he almost seems to be becoming a mad king right off the bat.
Yeah, it hit down really quick.
But it's not even like a corruption thing, although it technically is because they're clearly making a corruption thing. It's just like they're heightening some of his issues and not, I don't know, they're not really letting it like breathe and have him have his like, this is a great actor. He's one of the better actors, I think, in the show. And so I would really like to let this guy add some subtlety to and nuance that we've talked about to the performance of him becoming corrupted. But yeah, I guess we should continue on. But like you're right. That's sort of our problem with the show overall. Seeing the speed over the. I mean, and that's what comes from dropping 3 episodes day one.
And that was also, and the other thing is like, this Anatar and Celebrimbor are supposed to be like working together for like 400 years. Whereas like they're trying to get it done before.
That's the other thing I had. It's like a time crunch. He's like, we gotta go. And Celebrimbor's kind of like dawdling around like, no, we
Why?
don't.
We're both immortal. What do you care?
Yeah. Yeah, let's sleep on it and we'll think about these human rings. Apologies to anyone listening. I do have a bit of a sore throat, but we're gonna motor on because I couldn't wait any longer. We got new episodes dropping in a couple days, so yeah, we literally jump from the dwarves.
Well, I'm just gonna say everyone is happy, but then the stone singer, so like Disa and the other stone singers look uneasy. They're like,
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't even know what that's supposed to represent. Like, oh no, we're out of a job. Like, is that, you know what I mean?
took her jobs, yeah. Yeah.
Or are they just sad, like they're not respecting the mountain, which is kind of what I was getting at. Where like that would be a perfect scene where instead of having the whole crazy king dwarf, you know, yelling and screaming, dig here, have him say dig here. Have people say, oh, okay, and then have Disa say, like, no, like, that's a foundation wall. And, like, have her and him kind of go, like, oh, I don't trust it. And he goes, don't worry, I have this ring that the elves made. It's safe to dig here. And then later on, Disa can look worried. And then later on, maybe that tunnel collapses. And it's like, oh, Disa is right. These rings don't always point in the direction of truth. Sometimes they mislead you.
Yeah.
I think that would be a better way. Here, it just kind of, like you said, it cuts to the stone singing women, and they look worried, and I don't really understand why. Is it because they're worried about losing their jobs?
I think they're worried about losing their jobs.
But really,
that was my impression.
That was my impression too. But that can't be the reason. That doesn't. They took our jobs.
That's what the whole show's about. One elf comes to an island and they're afraid that elf's gonna take all our jobs.
And now this dwarf has an elven ring, and now he's taking all our jobs.
Yeah.
That's awful. That's just an awful storyline. But you're right. Like, that's literally what we're watching here. But yeah, so after that brief glimpse, and we get like a little bit of a speech here from Celebrimbor, and it's actually I kind of like this scene.
He's talking about dwarves and elves and friendship. He calls up Narvi, who unveils the doors of Durin.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice it when I watched it, but then I watched another YouTuber's review who pointed out how they say that the inscription is only viewed in moonlight, but you can clearly see the inscription.
Right. So
without moonlight.
So okay, I had this exact thought while I was watching it.
I was like, am I supposed to be able to see that?
Now my thought was a couple things. Number one, it is nighttime out, and so maybe we're getting just a faint bit of moonlight in. So that's my first, because like literally, like I have up on my screen the image of the door, and the caption is visible only by moonlight. So like it's clearly silly, but it's nighttime. Yeah. There is moonlight coming in from one of the windows. But also I was wondering if, similar to the One Ring, where like fire can kind of bring out the writing, maybe the fact that the forge is there and the forge is fire, which helped make the inscription.
I really think they screwed up, because it doesn't actually make any sense.
I'm trying to give them an out, but yeah, it's they should have made it. Well, okay, and here's what's crazy. Like to your point, and to the, I don't know what YouTuber you're talking about. I have a guess, but
it was Nerd of the Rings. I don't mind.
Oh, okay. Okay, so not a horrible reference.
No,
but
he's not a hater at all. In fact, Nerd Erotic called them a shill, actually.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So
all right, fellow shill, friend of the show, Nerd of the Ring. Okay, what I will say is they did screw up, and here's why. They've already shown us the stone tablet glowing, so why not have this glow? And then just say moonlight is hitting it. You know what I mean? Like, if it were glowing, we could all argue there's moonlight coming in. And again, I think they should show it. I think they honestly should have a scene where they release just a stone nothing. And everyone's like, what? Like, the audience is like, what is that? But we all know. Like, the people who know what's happening, we know what's happening. We just see this big blank stone piece. And then Celebrimbor goes and, like, opens a window. a beam of moonlight comes in, and then boom, the door lights up. I think that would be a really cool scene. I don't know why they didn't do it. It's stupid why they didn't do it. They literally, I think they threw this scene in just to placate people, because they knew that people like us and people like these other YouTubers would know what's like that these two characters should be making this door, and they just threw it in here. I don't even think it should be done in this season. I thought they could tease it. Like, they kind of teased the tablet,
I'm
and then...
pretty sure Celebrimbor is going to be dead before the end of the season, so they got to do it now.
Yeah, you're touching on stuff that I alluded to at the start of our episode here, where this particular episode starts to really focus in on storylines that might be leading certain characters in certain directions. What do you think about the line, it's guarded by a password known only to friends? I think it's a good line. I actually like that line because it without saying like Belloc or Melon or however you, like whatever word you want to put here, because Peter Jackson used a different word than what actually is Elvish for friend. Whatever word that you want to use, I just like having them say only friends know the password. I think that's a very cute way of not going Peter Jackson route and not saying Melon, and thus like having a divide between the two. But yeah, so that scene's done. Like I thought that should have been a much bigger scene, a much more grand scene, like you were saying. It's kind of sad it's over. I was kind of looking forward to that reveal as a big moment to like sit there and point and talk to whoever was watching the show with and say, hey, remember those doors from Fellowship? There they are. Like the scene was so quick and had no fanfare. I honestly think it was thrown in just so that we could get to this scene between Celebrimbor.
Yeah, Anatar slinks away.
Yeah.
Celebrimbor follows him and asks him if his speech was too much, and Anatar says, I encourage you to keep it short. And then Celebrimbor says, I don't remember you saying that. And he says, yeah, you don't always remember what I say, la la la.
Yeah, it's like a married old couple here.
And then Anatar's playing sad. He I want to get rings for men so they can resist Mordor. Rings for men, says Celebrimbor. Celebrimbor seems to sense some manipulation. Like, he says, you like to insert ideas and make people think they came up with them on their own.
Yeah.
And it made me think of Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the woman is the neck.
Yeah.
She can turn that any way she wants.
Yeah. No, and you bring up something that I was going to ask you, and you've already answered it, which is, do you think Celebrimbor senses something? And if so, what is going through the mind of Celebrimbor? Because he doesn't think that this is Sauron. Okay? Like, in no world does he think this is Sauron.
He thinks this is like a messenger of the gods.
Right.
Right now he's bickering with the messenger of the gods.
Right. So my like, I wish they would spend more time with Celebrimbor, like puzzling this out and going like, what's happening? Why are the gods asking one thing of me that I don't feel is right? And why do I sense some deception in this, like, holy being in front of me? You know what I mean? Like, he senses, he's resistant to, like, do some of the things, and then yet at the same time, like, what the heck does he think's going on? Because he does not think it's Sauron. I need to make that clear, because I watched this with someone who's like, he knows it's Sauron. No, he cannot know it's Sauron. It wouldn't make any sense for him to just stand there like this. He does not think it is Sauron. He thinks this is a godly messenger, like you said. So I want to know more about this inner turmoil where he doesn't... Like, I actually think it would be a good storyline for them to really dive into... Like, okay, look. The show's already fan fiction, so let's just go with what they're giving us. Just jump in and have Celebrimbor have this inner, like, religious inner turmoil where he's, like, trying to figure out why would the gods ask him to do such dangerous things why did they ask him to lie to his High King? Like, all these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead, we get, like, he's, like, hesitant, and he's, like, sensing something's off, but we don't get any more than that. And I want us to really go in. Like I said, this actor's really picked it up. I think he's doing a great job this time around.
Yep.
So I would like to give him more scenes, and not just scenes where he's talking to Anatar. Scenes where he's maybe talking to other elves and like talking about some of his insecurities about this to really help us get in his head. So I have to say that the way Anatar deceives him, it's not bad. Like, I think it's effective as far as the story goes, in terms of like oh, we need to give the men rings to protect them from Mordor, and then Celebrimbor like counters back with like, but weren't the men of the Southlands, didn't they fight on the side of Sauron? And it's like, yeah, but that's because they were corrupted. We need to prevent them from getting corrupted. And Celebrimbor's like, yeah, but the rings could get corrupted. Like, it's like a back and forth. I think it's a pretty good like back and forth, and gives people some background of the world, and it's a bit more world building. But I wish we got more of the character of Celebrimbor. We don't need more Anatar. Anatar is Sauron, and I kind of prefer him to be a bit of a mystery about what he might do. But Celebrimbor, I really wish we would give him a lot more like credit, because look, he's already considered kind of a failure in the eyes of readers of Tolkien's work, and he's going to be considered a failure here too, and a stupid one at that. I wish we could give him a little bit more credit, because he was a great smith that was deceived by the great deceiver. So like, I just wish they would let this character have those moments where he isn't just, gung-ho going through with whatever scheme Sauron has, and like really have him debate, like, look, I can't go against the Valar. I can't go against this messenger of the gods, even if I don't see it, kind of thing. Where like, it's because people are just gonna watch this and say he's an idiot because he fell for like Mr. like Wig Halbrand over here. But no, it's more than that. And so, yeah, I wish we would give this character a little bit more depth, so that he's not just an idiot to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it for this one, unless you have more.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about how men's problems are their own doing.
Yeah, we get that classic.
And it's basically like, we try to help them, we're gonna cause more problems than we solve.
Yeah, and I do kind of wonder.
Actually, this is where it comes up that Anatar wants to make 9. And Anatar also starts listing like lists of like exceptional humans. Like, we gotta find these like
yeah.
These like what do you call them? Great men. I guess that'd be the simple way to put it. And it's funny that like he can list like 3 people on all history.
Yeah.
But he still wants to get the rank 9 people alive at this moment.
Yeah, he was hoping that Celebrimbor would like jump in, because he's like, I'm gonna run out of examples if we don't get this going. Yeah.
There've been like 3 great men of all time, so we're gonna make 9.
Yeah. And honestly, I never quite understood the number stuff, like why 3, why 7, why 9. So at the show, whether it's canon or not, they at least come up with a reason for it, where like the 3 is like some sort of like holy trinity. They balance each other out, and then the 9. This is just kind of silly, but it goes with. I mean, the show's already silly. It's like it's a holy trinity times 3. It's a trinity of trinities, and it'll be the most balanced of all of the magic rings. And I mean, I get it from like the elves' point of view. Is there a reason Sauron wants 9 and 7? You know what I mean? Like, did he pick these numbers at random? Or did they go with 7 for the dwarves because there were 7 dwarven kingdoms? And then to get Celebrimbor to make any rings, he said, we'll put in some extra security
3. 3 times 3 is 9.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
But anyway, Celebrimbor still says no, and then Antar says, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
And this is another thing. Back when, like, all right, I just don't quite understand the relationship between Celebrimbor and Antar in terms of, like, Antar was sent as a messenger from the gods, at least according to Celebrimbor. Then why does he even need Celebrimbor, or does he just need his forge? You know what I mean? Like he
I guess Celebrimbor does have like some secret knowledge or magic touch based on how he's actually like in the later on they can't figure out what to do, and Celebrimbor's like
Oh, true.
giving advice.
True. So this is just another scheme where he's like, I'll do it myself, and then he like does it wrong. Maybe not deliberately. He just like does it wrong, knowing Celebrimbor's gonna step in and be like, I can't let you guys mess this up. I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, he knows I'll do it myself. But like, can messengers from the gods just do things themselves? I thought the idea was they had to come here and like instruct the people on Middle Earth to do things. They couldn't directly intervene. Like that was like the whole idea. So
I guess they can. I don't know.
But this kind of gets to my thing where I think if you let Celebrimbor have a lot more conversations outside of just him and Antar, where he's like, something's off. Like this Antar, he's putting thoughts in my head, and he's threatening to do things himself. That's not how I understand these messengers of the gods to be, kind of thing. And like he has this inner turmoil, but at the end of the day, he's like, but still, I've seen this power of this Antar, and I must, follow through with faith or something like that.
And he's the guy who taught me about alloys, so.
True. Yeah, he did help with the initial rings, so, he hasn't steered me wrong yet.
So I think we're back to Farazan and Kemen.
Yeah.
And they're discussing mortality. So Farazan's king now, and Kemen asks, isn't being king enough? Because I guess Farazan is talking about immortality after he just became king. He's like, can you just be happy for a bit now that you're king? So Farazan says something about Kemen's mom prophesies that he would find a bad ending. By the way, your mom said you're gonna die horribly. What?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what she said? No. I won't tell you until you prove yourself.
Yeah, I mean, man, like I
They have a very interesting father-son relationship.
I truly think he does not like his son. It's one of those like.
Oh, he really doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, because even here he does like it's implied that he's like, if you fail me, like we're done.
Yeah.
And like I only care for you as far as you're useful to me. So if you fail this, then just go find another profession, like leave me alone, type of thing.
Go die in whatever way suits you.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly like this.
I released you from my service.
Yeah. No. I'm getting the same vibes, and I kind of like it. Power's already gone to this man's head. Again, another speed issue where like he doesn't have to be this.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be like this until like Sauron comes to Numenor and like kind of like tricks him into thinking that way, right?
Yeah, that was my understanding. So like he had a brief conversation with Halbrand where Halbrand said, instead of like instead of fighting Galadriel right here in this dungeon, you just have to know where she's gonna be.
Yeah.
That was the only time they spoke.
Yeah.
He's not corrupted as far as I am concerned. Unless
I mean, as
that's...
far as I know, yeah, you have to gain his trust. Why would Farazan? Farazan doesn't seem like someone who trusts anyone.
No, he
But
does. He definitely didn't trust Halbrand.
so Farazan would actually be, by the standard that Gil-galad explained to us, Farazan should actually be very hard to corrupt, considering he probably doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah, but see, because he's already like power corrupted, like it almost is gonna
Yeah,
be easier for
you're
someone to
right.
just come in here and say, "Hey, you know,
And I'm guessing Kemen becomes a ring wraith.
oh, yeah, yeah." I mean, I think I already think I know who's gonna become um some of the race, and I think I know who's gonna become the Witch King.
Theo?
Yeah, and we can talk about
That'll be
that.
that'll be really tragic though. Like that's kind of tragic for this show.
No, I know, but I think they're already kind of planting the seeds if I'm reading it right, and we can talk
Yeah.
about it in a bit. But yeah, it would be tragic. Uh, but yeah, this scene just kind of flows into the next one, and
Oh, so we have Elendil and Muriel, and they
yeah,
can hear they can hear the chanting of Farazan. So Elendil's like discussing like we should like have a revolution.
yeah,
He says the old quarter and the old quarter people kind of like you, and the
Sea
Sea
Guard,
Guard's
yeah.
still loyal to you. Um,
Now,
and so Muriel ends up asking Elendil what he saw in the Palantir. And he said he just saw himself riding somewhere. He wasn't even sure where.
yeah,
So Muriel's like, well, that means maybe the future changed. Like this, whatever happened, Farazan being king, maybe that means this island's not going to sink anymore. So he's like, and she's basically like, that's great. That was my goal. If him being king means society's not going to end, I'm actually okay with it. Let him rule. So she's already given up.
yeah, and I'm kind of confused. I mean, I guess they don't know how the Palantir works.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not necessarily everyone's gonna see the same thing.
Yeah.
So, like, the crazy thing is, like, we know that this ends up causing it. So I'm just concerned, like, I'm confused why she doesn't want to at least, like, attempt to, like, touch it again. You know what I mean? Like, just to see for herself. But yeah, you're right. She's, like, given up. No matter, and she was like, um, no, you must not, jeopardize Numenor. So, like, no matter what people try to get you to do, like, let this happen, which is kind of this is like the craziest usurping I've ever seen. Like, she's completely chill with all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly I expected more pushback, but I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. Because at some point, I hope at some point she realizes that this is wrong and does try to take back power in some way, but it might be too late. Yeah. So,
I don't think so because I mean they can do whatever they want, but I don't think that follows what I think. Pretty sure Farazan's king now. That's it. Yeah.
well, still, I mean, like you said, they could do whatever they want. This is fan fiction. I
Yeah.
just, is she just
I
done? Is the
actually
character
I was
just
gonna
done?
say philosophically, I actually don't really care what they do as long as it doesn't like counter. Well, they can change it a little bit, but I mean, you could very well make the argument that everything besides the original books and the Hobbit and the appendices is not canon. Because all that stuff all the
Yep.
Silmarillion and
No,
everything that came out after Tolkien died.
yes.
He didn't even want us to see it theoretically.
That's right. I know. I see what you're going for, and you could also argue that there are various versions of these works.
Sure, because he kept changing his mind.
Yeah, and so you could argue, like, okay, the last one he personally released is the true one, and all the rest of it, yeah. No, I honestly, like, I was never. People are gonna hate this, but I was never that big on the whole. Is this following exactly the Silmarillion or whatever?
Yeah.
As long as they eventually get us to having a Galadriel that is similar in nature to her character in the trilogy. Elrond similar to his nature in the trilogy, and I don't know if they're gonna show us the Isildur moment or not, but getting us to a point where it makes like where Elendil is leading an army or in some capacity capable of leading an army of men
Right.
to,
We
to
still need to meet Isildur's brother too, right? He's got a brother on the west part of the island.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I've completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah, like as long as those characters get somewhat similar to where they are when I watched the original trilogy, that's what I'm hoping for. The rest of it, as long as they tell a compelling story that makes sense, I'll be happy. They're building towards it. They're just not quite. They haven't quite captured the magic yet.
Yeah.
But scenes like this next one are getting there. They're just still off slightly. And this is where the Sea Guard is.
They're turning in their weapons.
Yeah, like they're being stripped of their rank.
Now I saw this. I didn't notice it while I was watching, because I'm taking notes, so maybe I'm not looking close enough. But it's very clear that these knives are made out of rubber, because one of them, when he puts down the knife on the cushion, it bends like it's rubber.
Oh my god. So this
They
gets.
should have noticed. They should have noticed that when they were filming it. Even the actors just said, "Hey, it bent when I put it down."
Yeah. No. So this gets to like there is a huge inconsistency in set and costume design across the entire show.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect. I don't know if I noticed it initially, but something I've never liked the way Numenor looked in terms of like the close-ups of their costumes, and that like it's a clear part of it. So I'm not surprised because heck, the armor looks fake. Like the armor looks like it's made of rubber itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they need to fix that as well, because I've praised the look of the costumes with the dwarves and sometimes with the elves, and I really liked what they did with the men of the Southlands early on. I've always hated from day one the look of the Numenorians. People obviously make this joke where they'll show a picture of Elendil, and then they'll show like some random movie or even a commercial that has medieval fighting and medieval armor,
And it looks better.
and it looks way better. So I don't know why they screwed this up so much. I'm shocked at how bad the costumes look in Numenor.
Mm-hmm.
But we get this crazy scene between Hermione and her dad. She's gone. Like this is like what it's like.
Oh yeah, she looks darker. Like she's definitely her complexion's even changed. Maybe it's just the actress has been 2 years, but she seems more like angrier. I guess. Yeah.
Like the way she talks to her dad versus what it was like when we first met her, it's night and day. This is like what it's like talking to like crazy relatives and whatnot about politics. Like she's completely insane.
Maybe that's what they're getting at. Yeah.
Like he's concerned for her, and she's just like, Farazan is your king now. I beg you accept it, father. You're walking a treacherous path.
And she's an authority now because they're turning in the weapons, and he says on whose authority, and she says mine. Like,
yeah.
Wait, are you an authority?
Now, okay, so it's her authority, and she was instrumental in the overthrow.
Yes.
So I could see why they give her the some sort of role in this new government.
And Kemen's looking super smug in the corner as Elendil turns over his sword.
Okay, well, I have a question for you about this. All right, so Elendil does turn over his sword, and it seems like it's on his own free will. Do you know what I mean? Like it was almost like
Yeah. Well, he was told by Muriel to just go with it, wasn't he?
No, but I'm wondering if the idea here, and it's they don't do enough to make it clear, if she was hoping she could convince her father to join them and stay on as like captain of the Sea Guard. But then he makes a big show of like, I am not one of you, and then he walks over to the, because at first he's walking away, right? And then he still has a sword and everything. He's walking away, and then what's his name? Draco Malfoy.
Oh yeah, Kevin Draco.
Yeah,
Malfoy.
he says something to him. So Elendil's walking just off, like he's gonna leave. He's like, I can't believe you're like stripping me of all my good men. And then Draco says something, and I can't remember exactly what it is.
Well, Valandil says Captain leaving deck, and then Draco says he's nobody's captain now.
That's it. That's it.
And
then he takes off.
Then all the men start thinking like, "Thank you, Captain. Bless you, Captain." As he walks away.
Yeah, because he didn't have to. For me, it was implied he didn't actually have to do this because he was actually not being stripped of his rank. They thought because his daughter was on board that he might join, but him doing this is a show of like, I'm with my men, and this kind of goes against what the Queen just told him to do, which is go with it. Because now him doing this, everyone is loyal to him. It's got this real like Roman Empire, like loyal to your own general type of thing.
And then you have Kevin being like, he's nobody's captain now.
Yeah.
And it's just that's egging everyone on even more. So.
Yeah, Draco. He's becoming a little weenie here that, like, okay, he was always a weenie, but it was like...
He's come so much worse, yeah. Before he was just kind of like a soy boy, and now he's just like a soy boy who's like trying to be tough, but he's just being an asshole.
Yeah. Because he has no real power other than the fact that his dad is now king. Yeah. And even before that, his dad was a great politician. He was always terrible, and I kind of felt sorry for him at first because his dad wasn't great to him. Mm-hmm. But it's making it really hard to feel sorry for this guy anymore, because he's got like no honor. He doesn't really even care about Numenor. It seems like he's out there just to like mess with people, and like his dad wouldn't want that. Like. You're making trouble where there doesn't have to be. If we can get everyone to just go peacefully, that's awesome. Yeah. But the way this guy goes about it, he's gonna cause an uprising. He's gonna cause the rebellion. Like, he's an idiot.
Yeah. So Arya or Hermione, as we say sometimes, she offers to protect Valandil's rank because they've been friends their whole life. But she's like, I think you've chosen who your friends are, or it's clear who your friends are now. And also, Malfoy's in the background looking jealous.
Yeah.
Too. He doesn't like Hermione talking to Ron.
No, because he's still trying to get with her. Like clearly it's not going well because she's like, sure, I may have chosen to like side with you and your father, but you're still a weenie soy boy. I'm not. I'm attracted to like, Sigma males, not whatever this is. just because you're in power doesn't mean you're anything. And she I love how she's like, I'll speak to the king. So she's gonna just go again around Malfoy here. She's not even gonna I'm not even gonna
Lucius directly.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna talk to this idiot. I'm just gonna go to the actual person with power. So yeah, so this scene. Like I said, it's scenes like this which could be great because they have like the underpinnings of a great scene, but then they screwed up with the costume and set design and some of the way things are handled where like Malfoy is like cartoonishly villainy here.
Yeah. I was gonna say like he's being a real dick. Like he's nobody's captain now. Like, that's the guy who you want to be your father-in-law.
Yeah, like that. That's
Be a
the
little bit.
And-
be a little nicer.
And to me, the plan was she wanted to bring her dad on board.
Mhm.
She's not gonna like you if you're like, he's nobody's captain now. It's like, you think this is gonna like help, like swoon her and like have her like fall in love with you? No, dude, she hates you. Like, it's crazy. Why do it to him anyway? Like, if you're gonna try to be some macho guy, you would do it to like the nobodies, like the randos. But no, he has to do it to like the most respected man outside of Pharazôn in the kingdom right now. Yeah. So he's now all pouty. Like, that scene literally ends with him pouting. Like, he like it closes in on him as he like looks down. He's like, oh. Like, what the hell? Why are we like highlighting this like weirdo? That's okay. Honestly, you can look at these scenes and look at these characters, and you look at this guy, and you look at like Wormtongue, and both are kind of over the top villainy, but this one just doesn't work because of the constraints they've already put on the situation. Whereas Wormtongue already had like a corrupted king who he had the ear of, so he didn't have to play it safer and like actually work within the confines of like the political situation that he was in. Like, I'm sure if we saw Wormtongue initially, he wasn't doing the same things he was doing when we saw him. When he first got there, he was probably a lot more proper and a lot more respectful to people. And then over time, because the king is now fully under the spell of himself and Saruman, he's able to like let slip some of his more like creepy ways of speaking and mannerisms. Here, like, this guy should be like, again, like, they need to play this out more and like let this guy be a bit more conniving and like trying to be, you know, a proper statesman, and then letting things slip now and then. Instead, he's just kind of evil and creepy from the get-go now that his dad's king, and so it's just non-stop him like antagonizing people for no reason.
Yeah, he's trying to like impress his dad, but not doing a good job.
But his dad's not even there, so there, it's just out of spite. He's mad that Elendil is loved and he's hated by everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if his dad's there, and then he can kind of play it up. His dad's not even there. It's just the girl he likes, and he's abusing her father. It doesn't make any sense for this character. So that's why I want people to know, like, because some people will say, hey, but like, you know, Peter Jackson has characters like that. Yeah, but it makes sense. It's not out of place. Anyway, and like, honestly, a guy like Wormtongue is the only kind of guy that would actually work with Saruman to like infiltrate Rohan and corrupt the king. Like, obviously he's gonna have some weird quirks to him to like to do that kind of job. All right, so we come to. I mean, I actually missed this scene the first time I was watching it.
Pharazôn of the Planter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like, because we don't actually.
There's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue. I must have been like looking down, like having a drink or something. So I missed it the first time I watched it. Does he? It's almost like a will he, won't he touch it type of thing. Like the reason the queen was overthrown was that she did use it. She touched it and used it to look into the future, and people claim that she was under elven control.
Yeah. I don't think Pharazôn actually thinks that.
No, he doesn't. But the whole idea.
He's gonna touch it for sure.
Oh, he's for sure touching it.
There's no way he doesn't. He sees no reason not to.
He doesn't care about the Palantir.
Yeah.
He's not a simpleton. He knows like that doesn't corrupt the queen. Like the queen was fine.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So now we're back, and we've finally.
Oh, the Celebrimbor's letter about shutting down the forge reaches Gil-galad.
Yeah, we finally got this letter, which took, like, in the process of transmitting this letter, they have already made dwarven rings. The dwarves have then come and met with Celebrimbor, and they've made a secret door together. And
Yes.
orcs have come all the way up and have infested the
They're in the
lands.
Shire, basically.
Yeah. These are the slowest goddamn messengers of all time.
Yeah.
Now, we understand why the first messenger sent by Gil-galad didn't make it. They were intercepted by Barrow Whites. But this messenger was sent pretty quickly after Halbrand showed up.
Yeah.
And it's now finally getting to Gil-galad. It's a bit much. Like, they speed up some things. Like, we've already seen the door being made, and then this letter... I just assumed the letter made it. I didn't expect to see a letter scene. Because, you know, it's been so long. Like, obviously it made it.
Yeah. And then we see a shot of Anatar beginning to forge the Nine. Gil-galad is counseled by one of his commanders that the letter proves Galadriel was wrong and they should just attack in Mordor. Gil-galad's ring seems to say otherwise through visions, and the commander says not to listen to that ring alone.
Yeah. And this kind of goes like... This at least like tips its toe into what I was hoping we'd get, which is a bit more like elven society. How do they feel about the rings? Because like I'm trying to think of it from like a random like in this scene there's guards, a random elven guard of Gil-galad. What would they think of it? Because here you thought you had to leave Middle Earth because the elven immortality was going to go away, and you would all have to go to Valinor. And then Celebrimbor, by some magic, was able to make 3 rings that may or may not save the elves. And then, oh, would you look at that? It did save the elves. But there's some thought that maybe they're not as trustworthy as we thought. So I kind of like hearing like more from these other elves, like what they think. And they're like counseling him. You should only be making these judgments when all 3 of you are together, because then you have that strong 3-ring bond, which I think is kind of a neat idea. Like that makes a lot more sense about this whole idea of 3. I never really made sense to me. Like if they're all spread out, who cares if it's 3 or 5? Like, is it the fact that there are 3 in existence, or is it the fact that 3 are being worn at that moment? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really understand it.
I guess, yeah.
Whereas if they're all together, maybe then they kind of harmonize with each other or something. So I kind of like that idea. Again, I think Gil-galad has really dropped the ball on this. This might be one of like the biggest problems I have with this character right now, is that before he was very sure about what to do, and he always like he had actions that even if you didn't agree with them, you could see why he did them, and he was always like quick to action because he wanted to make sure things got done. And it's almost like now that they've got the rings, he's kind of more passive, because there should be a lot more communication between him and Celebrimbor. I mean, Celebrimbor just saved the elven race.
Yep.
And you sent 2 letters, and then the letter you got back is so mundane. Like, oh, I'm glad they worked. I'm shutting down my forge now. I'm gonna rest and like I'm gonna have a peaceful existence. There should be bigger celebrations. There should be a little bit more communication. You should go in person to visit this man, or this elf. So the fact that he's still sitting here, the fact that he hasn't even... Why not just march the army to Eregion as like a big show of triumph and then march down to Mordor? Why are we still sitting here debating, do we go to Eregion or do we go to Mordor? I don't understand. To me, it was super simple. From day one, when you find out that Sauron was in that forge, you march your army straight to Eregion, and then from there you can go off to battle wherever else you might go. But why are we still here, and why are we still not moving? We haven't even heard back from... Okay, so you just got a letter from Celebrimbor, that took ages to get here. I wonder if it's time stamped. It's been so long, and now you're like, oh, okay, he might be fine. You haven't heard back from Elrond. Elrond's company, who you just sent out into dangerous lands potentially, they haven't sent word back. Like, something might be off. It doesn't make sense. This character, he used to be so dynamic, and now he's just sitting there like looking at his visions and not acting.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder what that shipwright is seeing, because
Good point.
he might be saying some crazy stuff too. Why isn't he here going, hey, Gil-galad, we gotta move, we gotta go? And like, that would actually, okay, again, like, I'm rewriting some of this show, but like, didn't we say when we first met that shipwright that he was so respected that even Gil-galad would listen to him? Maybe this is a perfect scene to bring him back and have him convince Gil-galad to do something, and then we get to see in real time that happening. Whereas before, it was just said. And the old adage in television and movies, show don't tell. Show us this guy talking to Gil-galad and, like, you know, showing his wisdom, and Gil-galad being helpless but to listen and say, you know what, you're right. We must act. And we get a good actor back in the mix. We get these two talking a bit more, which we haven't had other than the one scene.
Right.
So,
I think Círdan would have been. They should do more with him, because he could be a very interesting character.
yeah, he's got a ring. He's seeing visions too. Like, we know these rings are showing visions. So what the hell is he seeing?
Yeah.
And then we okay, it's hard to talk about that scene because that scene is intermixed with Gil-galad is reading the letter, and it cuts back and forth to, like you said, Celebrimbor watching Anatar start to reset up the forge to build to make the 9 rings. Then it cuts back to Gil-galad, then it cuts to Elrond, who's running through the woods.
Yes.
So he still hasn't reached. I forget even where he was going. Was he going back to Lindon, or was he going forward? I think
he was going. They were in the They had just gotten past the Barrow Downs.
So he's going back to Lindon, right? He's
going back to Lindon.
So he went to Barrow Downs, then headed back to Lindon. The message
tell them that the orcs were there.
Yeah, the message from Celebrimbor about not doing anything more with the forge.
They should have crossed paths with those messengers, shouldn't they?
Unless, like, they got all so because they went to the Barrow Downs and then fought orcs, maybe they're sidetracked. I don't know, but yeah, again, these timelines are kind of weird. But yeah, so we get those quick shots of that, and then we jump right back to the dwarves. Unless you have...
yes, this is Disa. She's uneasy about the rings, worries about that kind of power corrupting.
Mm-hmm. And she mentions it feels like cheating.
Yeah.
And this gets to your point that she's just jealous that her job's being taken by this ring. And I just think that's such a, like, that's not, I get what they're going for, but...
I mean, maybe, like, I could see, it's not just losing your job, but it's like, this is like a very, like, special ability that's going to be lost.
Yeah, it's a culturally significant attribute that if not honed over time will be lost, like you said.
I mean, I can't think of a really good example, but like...
Well, no, like something as simple as language. If you don't have enough people speaking it, it gets lost over time.
Yeah, but there's definitely things like... I don't know why I'm thinking like sextants and GPSs. Like, who uses a sextant these days? You have a GPS, but I don't think a sextant is a very good example because probably not.
Well, actually, no, but you're close. Paper maps. I don't actually know anyone our age other than the two of us who
is any good with maps. Yeah.
Yeah, like I literally have a map of my area that I want someday to just drive around and have my wife try and direct me because she's awful with maps.
Right.
She'll be looking at it upside down and be like, how do I know which way is what? How do I know? And like I always joke, you could drop us two off in the middle of the woods with a map, with have some basic landmarks and a compass, and we'll be fine. We'll get back. But I can give them the most detailed map of any building or city, and they'll get lost. And to me, it doesn't make sense because it's so. I love looking at maps. I love looking at old maps. I have a map on my wall right in front of me. I have a map right behind me too. Love maps. But none of my friends outside of you know how to read paper maps anymore. They must have the GPS in the map show them where they are. Otherwise, they can't piece it together. They can't look at two crossroads and find themselves. That skill, like this skill, will get lost if people aren't taught how to do it. So you're right. I could see her talking about that. She doesn't mention it that much though. She talks more about it's like cheating and wielding power. I think they should have gone with what you're saying and have her be more not frustrated that she's like out of a job or like that, he's not listening to the Stone Slingers, but more like, I want to be able to teach my daughter how to do this. And with these rings, that's going to be lost or something to that effect. I think that'd be a much more powerful statement, because even here, like during the fourth, because she's like, dwarves aren't meant to have that kind of power. And then during the fourth is like, I think he knows something about wielding power or something like that. And so like, I don't know. I like your interpretation better. I think that's where they should have gone. Because again, it's not even clear to me what power, like she was a stone singer. She had this power. And now she's like, no one's meant to have that kind of power. And I hope your father keeps true or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, he would listen to you. You would stone sing. You would then tell them where to dig, and then they would dig. So together, you guys had the power to do exactly this. I'm kind of confused by this whole thing. But we do get more like dwarven society.
Yeah, they go to the market. And there's like 100% sales tax.
Yeah.
So everything costs double because he's put 100% tax on everything.
Yeah.
Call it ring tribute.
Yeah. So again, this is something I think should have been brought up slowly over the course of the season and maybe into next, where like this is super greedy. And this is like highlighting, this is what I was saying, like it's like highlighting the greediness, the stubbornness, and like the selfishness that are like the negative attributes of dwarves. But it's too much. Like it's becoming a character, like a characterization of dwarves instead of like allowing the actor to like subtly show it as he goes through his scenes. So yeah, ring tax, that's crazy. And then we get
they buy this like haggling scene with the tuning crystal.
Yeah, so that helps them. I'm guessing that helps them sing.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine.
And she's gonna get it to her daughter for her birthday.
And then they kind of have this like, she drops it and rolls away.
It's a slapstick.
She's bumping into everyone. I don't know if they're making fun of her weight there or not. I don't think they would do that, would they?
No, I mean, unless they let like Nerdrotic write this episode or something, but I don't think they did. I think it's supposed to just be like one of those silly scenes where, like, again, this scene, it's like this was like written by AI, because like this is such a weird scene.
It's very strange because it rolls through the market and then like randomly into some cavern that's like right next to the market, and you get the impression this is like an unexplored cavern.
That's right.
It's right next to like the central area.
Which you'd think her singing and like she'd be able to find this place herself with her like singing through the stones type thing. So again, I think this is not... It should have been just her and her husband out for a stroll. And then she does some singing and finds... Like that... Why did they have to have... Like, I like the market, don't get me wrong. I like seeing the Dwarven market. But, again, just slapstick comedy of her bumping into things. Like, oh, you've kicked it. Oh, I can't grab it. Oh, it's going over here. And then it goes into a cavern, like you said. She then like goes in, and what? No dwarf has ever like gone through this little rock here, and then into this like massive.
I mean, maybe they've been there before, but it's clearly not a frequently trafficked area.
No, there's
in a very high traffic location, central location.
no, and then and then she's like, oh man, it's got great acoustics in here.
But she sings, she finds the rock, but then hears a bellowing. And
Yeah.
she just ends up dropping and breaking the crystal. So, do you think that's the Balrog, or I'm pretty sure it's the Balrog myself. That's what most people, I'm pretty sure, think. But Lord of the Rings actually said it could be the Watcher.
Oh,
I think it's got to be the Balrog though.
no, but there's water here, so it could be the Watcher.
Yeah.
It's weird that like, okay, it's gonna be like a little nitpick for Tolkien, but like, and I know he did this probably deliberately, and I actually am fine with it, but I'm not fine with like bestiaries or compendiums talking about this, because the Watcher, is that actually what it's not like designed to watch. It's just this weird monster.
It's just a name.
Yeah. Like it's not actually, the name has nothing to do with what it is, and just people after the fact are like trying to like give it a name, but it's just a nameless creature. Like there's tons of them in this world, so I don't know, it's weird that we have to call it the Watcher when I don't know, it's not, I don't like calling it the Watcher, but I don't know what else to call it, because I know what you mean when you call it that, but it's just a nameless being, and you know, people outside of this space, they have no idea what I'm talking about when I say that. Like, even if they've seen the movies, they have no idea what I'm talking about. So like, it's not even helpful there. So I don't know. I actually think it might be the Watcher, but the Balrog makes more sense. I'm kind of like, if it is the Watcher, is the ring, like, because she implies the ring might be doing this. I don't know. It's very.
Well, if they dig too deeply, that's gonna wake up the Balrog, and the king's going crazy. He wants to dig everywhere.
Right. So that's clearly gonna happen. Like, now we know. Okay. First of all, it's weird how they alluded to the Balrog before, when it was Durin the Fourth who was mining Mithril, and then they went in another direction, Durin the Third going crazy. That became like oh, we're gonna dig everywhere, like you said, and that's gonna be the cause of it. So it's kind of weird how they went